Johnson,
Hi, my name is Ali Moridi.
and we're going to be presenting to you our mental health advocacy project here, which is refugee and immigrant mental health and kind of the different issues that they have to face as a population. So to start with, we're going to be kind of going over why we're so passionate about the struggles that these populations have to face.
Well, I moved here in 2004, and at that time I didn't speak any English. So I feel that all the immigrants, they're going through this process and they need a mental health assistance.
And I'm kind of on the other card as just, growing up as a white male in America, I kind of have some privileges that I might not even always fully be aware of. And I think because of that, it puts me in a position where I have a real hard time fully understanding what some of this patient population of refugees and immigrants are going through. So since I have that kind of inherent block of understanding what they do, I think it would really benefit me to kind of invest a lot of time into trying to get that understanding so that I can better serve the patient population. And we're going to kind of start, computer's going to sleep, but we're going to kind of start going through our presentation here. And I'm going to let Ali kind of start us off.
So first we're going to actually talk about the difference between refugees and immigration. Refugees and immigration face the daily struggle of the discrimination, language difficulties, and lack of healthcare access. Low and paying job without benefit documentation, issue and isolation from their nation and community, which all may negatively impact their mental health.
Yeah, so these are just kind of the blanket struggles that some of them deal with. We'll go over some more in detail here. Kind of talking about facing discriminations. Immigrants and refugees both, they face discrimination and racism on a daily basis. And this is the kind of thing where I was talking from, I can't fully understand that being a white male in America. But this constant threat of harm to their safety and well-being that this population is going to feel can really add to the level of stress that they're feeling, which is going to certainly add to the potential of developing mental health disorders.
Loss of the community identity is actually another thing we want to talk about. When people are coming from the different countries and they don't speak English, they go to the isolation mode. So they don't want to just bunk in and just go day by daily, which is cause them mental health issues.
And our next block, of course, is the trauma. These refugees and immigrants, they're going to face different amounts of trauma on kind of their travels over here, or whether it's escaping from their country or seeking a better life. Usually in their travels, they can see some kind of physical abuse, sexual abuse, whether it's to them or it's something they witnessed. They can all kind of lead to causing issues with PTSD.
And the next thing that we want to talk about is the mental health treatment. When you come from different countries, sometimes the mental health is being taboo, so they don't want to actually really talk about it. They want to just go ahead and say, I'm a macho man and I don't need any help. So they don't actually seek for any help.
And this next part is about the political climate. Under the current Trump administration, they've really kind of tightened the grip on what they're allowing for both immigration and refugees, which is causing a real big increase on the mental health stresses and stresses that some of these individuals are facing. And I'm actually going to kind of touch back more on these bullet points here because the interview that we secured with Stacy Weisberg, the director at Jewish Family Services, she touched on that in a way, and I want to talk about that during our interview portion. So we're going to move along here to kind of our available resources that for this population.
So the first one we want to talk about is actually NAMI, which is the National Alliance of Mental Illnesses. They are having services provided for national and local level to those affected by mental illnesses. They are really big, and we tried to actually reach out to somebody to actually do the interview, but they couldn't, unfortunately, due to COVID. And the next one is a Mango House. The Mango House is provided the food, dental, medical, and mental health to the service to the refugees, immigrants, and anybody who actually need services. They have an office actually down on Colfax, which is they are really trying to take care of the people who are actually underserved.
And then the Jewish Family Services, this is actually the facility that we were able to get an interview for with, once again, Stacy Weisberg. She was a director there at Jewish Family Services. And historically, she was saying one of the main things they used to do was help with resettlement issues and kind of resettling people from a foreign country to the new one as a refugee. And a lot of that they're not doing as much anymore, but they're still focusing on providing specialized mental health treatment for refugees most specifically, but also immigrants and asylum seekers as well. And we just provided, of course, the contact information there. And on that note, I kind of wanted to segue right on over to our interview. We're going to come back here to talk about our applicable DSM-5 criteria, but real quick, we do have it for depression and our PTSD, but they're both very likely to fall. They're both very vulnerable to these DSM-5 categories. But back when we were talking to Stacy from Jewish Family Medicine, one of the things that we wanted to ask her was how do we reduce the stigma of mental health for the immigrants and asylum seekers and refugees. And she was saying, one of the big things we got to do that we've all learned about before is we have to change kind of the way we talk about it. We hear this negative language, crazy, insane, and this applies to all facets of mental health, but we really have to change that because that can really be damaging. And then she said, as far as patient care and a stigma involved in treating the immigrant or refugees with mental health issues, is that language barrier, once again, that's something that nurses are going to shy away from, and that's something that we kind of want to avoid. And Stacy was very just adamant on that we need to embrace it. We need to not fear this population, of course, and that we need to really utilize our resources. Once again, don't go to the family member for interpretation services. Use a medical interpreter so you can really break down those barriers and get a better understanding. And once you can do that, you can then further chip away at the overall stigma of mental health with your patient.
Also, the other thing, as Stacey mentioned, it was a PTSD. These people, when they come to United States, they migrate, they have PTSDs. They have a loss of family or sexual abuse or emotional abuse. So try to actually get to their level, try to understand what they're saying. And as Nathan actually mentioned, we need to actually use our resources. Try to actually bring the third party or whoever you can to understand what they're saying. As Stacey mentioned, non-English speakers are really hard to actually communicate with. And if we don't understand what they're saying, we cannot help them. To try to actually understand what they're saying, try to put yourself in their shoes and see what they're actually going through.
Yeah, and another question we had for Stacy that was interesting was just kind of wanted to ask about the level of services provided. If she's seen kind of a steady increase or how that's been working. Interestingly enough, she said due to kind of the political nature of things right now and the Trump administration, there are some pretty stringent refugee and immigration caps. Last year, or this year in 2020, it was 18,000 refugees allowed in. It's expected to decrease, it's proposed to decrease next year under the Trump administration. And because of these things, there's been a less influx to seek services, but beyond that, there's another thing called the public charge rule. And under the Trump administration right now, it was not made under him, but under it, immigrant or refugee that might be trying to get a visa, if they wanted to get their visa and citizenship, they might not be able to do so if they were deemed that they would be a public charge. And they would be a public charge if they were seeking federally funded or state funded services such as these offered here, whether they qualify for them or not. So that's really kind of dissuading a lot of new immigrants and refugees from seeking these services, even if they fully qualify and are needed for them. So that's kind of an unfortunate state of events. And once again, just to recap.
Yeah, so as a nurse, we need to actually make sure we understand the people who actually come from different nations. We need to get to their level. Make sure you're an active listener. You always need to make sure you understand what they're saying. So bring out the sources you can.
All right, and we just want to say thanks again for listening.
Thank you.
Once again, both very passionate about this project, and I hope that as nurses all together, we can make a difference.
Thank you.